final two presentations on the topic of enabling participation for all. I'd like to welcome Professor Ron Eglash to the stage and also Usin Kimanuka.
So I know we've been talking about the word value as in ethics, the value as in norms, but I want you to switch in your mind here and hear the word value as it would be used in economics, right? So what is it that allows a system to regenerate? And the problem is if you pull that value out of that system, if you pull all the trees out of the forest, or you pull out the ability of the earth to absorb carbon dioxide because your compute has this ginormous carbon footprint, you destroy the ability to regenerate, right? If you give your workers these low-paid, mind-numbing, boring tasks, you break their ability to come back the next day and feel refreshed and invigorated, right? You're taking away their pride and their worker satisfaction. If you use recommendation algorithms that cause polarization and weaponize social media, you're now pulling out the ability of communities and societies to regenerate, to restore themselves with that conviviality. That's the bedrock of democracy. And of course, AI threatens all three of those domains, right? But technological systems don't have to do that. We don't have to design them to maximize extraction. We're just in the bad habit of doing it over and over and over again. And regardless of whether it's a capitalist or a communist economy, we're doing the same thing over and over again. We're creating these systems of extraction. So our goal here is to get something that works a little bit more like organic gardening. In organic gardening, you take your agricultural waste and you compost it and you put it back in the earth. And what does that do? It regenerates the soil ecosystem, right? So you need a version of that in the technosocial domain. So our solution is to develop a form of AI training that occurs through this kind of generative circular economy, what we've been calling generative justice. So in that sense, the model training should return value to a diverse, inclusive group of data providers, and the model training platforms themselves should be democratically governed by those providers. So this is what our flowchart looks like for our platform. We start with our African creatives, whether they're artists or rural basket makers or high-profile architects in downtown Lagos. We have them upload images, descriptions, and then prompts. So what would you ask AI that would lead that person who asked the question to those artworks that you just uploaded, right? That's what we're asking the artist to provide, as well as the images and descriptions. So that then undergoes community deliberation. Eventually, this will become an actual self-governance system for the platform. And all of that data now goes into LLM training. And if corporations want to use that data, they can pay into a fund. And thank you, OpenAI, for generously providing us with this grant, half of which we're going to donate to that fund. And then those direct financial returns are delivered back to the creatives. And we're using a lottery system so we can bundle it and make it, really sizable payments. So every week for about 10 months, we'll be giving out $1,000 to the artist of the week who will be featured on the platform. But that's not all, folks. So in addition, we've got increased visibility to the public. So the public will be able to go out on the platform, look at all these artworks, click on an artwork and say, dang, I love that basket, I want to buy that. And that'll connect them to a website where they can now purchase that art. In addition to that, if somebody says, that's a nice design for a basket, but I want to make an architecture out of that. I want to make a building based on that basket. They can now pay a fee, use NST, neural style transfer, and be able to do some licensed image AI with that. All right, so you probably all know about this scandal of paying workers $2 an hour to do the grunt work of AI, the boring, repetitive, mind-numbing tasks. That's how it looks like in an extractive economy. But if you have a generative economy, here's what our prompt process looks like. We ask artists, what are some questions someone might ask, such that the AI now brings them to your art, right? And they can even now go back and say, well, wait a minute, I didn't put enough in my description. So it's both improving the description and giving us a test set that we can use in human reinforcement for the AI. We are looking for partnership. We're looking for folks who are doing image generation. We're looking for African partnering organizations, and we're looking, of course, for future funding.
Thank you, everyone. This is our platform. This is how it looks like. The platform on the homepage is actually listing all the project that has been submitted by the project contributors. In this case, the project contributor is our artist who are invited by the non-profit organization. For a project contributor to submit a project, he has to actually give in some input. The first input is the title of the project, and then come in the categorization of his artwork, and then the description. He has to describe the artwork itself and give in an image of its artwork. And then we have the prompt, which can be added as a question, which is going to lead toward his artwork. And he may opt in to link to his main project so that to create some advertisement for his work. After submission of his project, he will be listed among the projects which are on the home page, and we can be able now to actually have a view of all what has been submitted, which are already given there as the subject, the title, the categories, and the project details. And then one of the impactful option we have on this platform is that there is a button which allows the public viewers or the regular user to actually purchase the art. He can have an option of purchasing the art using a personal use reason, as well as he can use it for narrow style transfer. So the narrow style transfer, it can also be used for large language model if big tech want to use the digital right of this artwork. Additionally, we have added a sense of ownership to the platform. So since the platform is owned by the data providers, they can be able to actually allow and approve and delete the comments that have been published by the regular users. This is to avoid trolls and also hate speech on the platform. So there is also in line of ownership, we have allowed the project contributors to access the dashboard so that they can be able to edit the project which has been previously created, as well as delete in case they want to delete the project and they are no longer interested in it. So apart from that, there is also a creation of the prompt. So as we mentioned, that the process of creation of prompt is done by the artists themselves. So they can decide in creating a new prompt based on a previously created project, and also they can be able to edit and delete their prompts. Finally, from the big tech perspective, we have also included a API which can be accessed and which can be actually exposed to all other companies or other big tech corporation. And this API can have access through that API. Big tech can also have access to the project, to the prompt, as well as the comment. So thank you so much for listening.
Thanks for your presentation. I'm interested in the API. So what does the API, what do you send? What do you get back with the API?
Thank you so much for the question. Actually, the API we have exposed to the public is actually containing the project title as well as the description. And also it contains the prompt of all the artists and related prompt to the project which have been uploaded to the platform. So using that data, you can be able to post-train or do further fine-tuning on a global large language model. This is because we have found that the current large language models cannot actually represent African arts and culture. So by further fine-tuning using our API, then they can be able to represent the African culture and artists.
Beautiful work. I really like it. So I have a question. Why do you focus on Africa? Because I feel like in China, we have a large group of ethnicity minorities. And we actually have a work about how they use vlog video blogging to kind of sustain their cultural artifacts. And also, so I think one idea could be if you can use visual, like because video GPT, and then try to mine the artwork they have, and also use the captions, the text, the explanations of what they value, and then that can give you a lot of content to bootstrap the value system, and also cross-culture creation. So that's just my idea. Like, why don't you expand this minority to other cultures or cross cultures? Yeah.
Ultimately, I think we do want to have a model that can be applied to any knowledge domain and in any geographic place. But we want to make sure it's actually anchored in the folks who are producing the value, right? And not just the people, but also the ecosystem, right? The non-humans who are producing the value. So I had an example up there of the basket from Ethiopia. And I actually used an image of a basket that I watched being created. And she was wrapping this beautiful thread around some grass, but that grass is now under threat by climate change, right? And so one of the things we've been talking about is now adding in the ecological domain into this and trying to get that data onto the system in some way that's beneficial.
Thank you so much. It's an amazing project. My question is it's a nasty question, and it's how do you stop bad faith actors just stealing all the data?
So Hussein mentioned the magic word here, which is NGO. So we're not working one-on-one with individual artists. There's no way that an individual artist can just go onto the website and start uploading things. And we realized early on that if we were trying to vet millions of artists, they would just overwhelm us. So we're contacting NGOs. So these are non-governmental organizations, whether it's a small studio of artists or Nigeria has just started a new institute for African artists. So whether they represent just a small number or a very, very large number, we're working through them, and they're the ones who are going to make contact with the individual artists, right? So essentially, we're outsourcing our vetting process.
One last question. Thank you. Have you thought anything about distribution strategy for this so as to like meaningfully rival Amazon Turk or other extractive alternatives scale-wise?
I'm not sure what you mean by distributions. On the input side of folks?
On the input side, yeah. So as far as I've understood, the goal or part of the goal here is to kind of create a data labeling pair data set that could be used to do something like what people use Amazon Turk.
Yeah. So there on the one hand, you want to do a process that is grounded, right, and connected in some way to the real world, that it has a kind of authenticity to it. On the other hand, you want to do this in as large a scale as possible if it's actually going to be beneficial. But those two things have to be in tension with each other. You can't just go off in just one direction. And so I think the challenge of doing it with something like NEMT is, well, now I'm not necessarily working through an NGO. I've just got this solicitation out there, and how do I know that that's actually an African artist who's applied, right?
Thank you. Okay, so I'd like to invite Tanushri and Young to join, to come on the stage to talk about inclusive AI, how they're thinking about engaging marginalized groups for AI.
So we're representing our team, Inclusive AI. I would say one of the main motivations for this work is that in the past we've done work with a large group of underserved populations, people with